All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dive into one of America's truly great art forms, jazz. But here's the thing, it's so much more than just a genre of music. It's a living, breathing story, one that's about culture, creativity, and constant change. And you know what? That story is still being written today.
So let's just start with the biggest question of all. What is jazz? You'd think that would be a simple question, but nope. It's one that has stumped musicians, critics, and fans for more than a century. Why? Well, because jazz is kind of like a moving target. Its whole identity is built on changing and reinventing itself.
And really, who said it better than the man himself, the legendary Duke Ellington? When he was asked to define it, he just said, "It's all music." So instead of trying to shove it into some neat little box, let's do something else. Let's look at the core ingredients, the stuff that gives jazz its incredible soul. Okay, so if we can't pin it down with one definition, what are the essential parts? What makes jazz, well, jazz? It really all boils down to two things, two ideas that are right at the very heart of the music: improvisation and swing. To really get this, think about the difference in philosophy. In classical music, the goal is to play the score perfectly, exactly as the composer wrote it. Total fidelity. But in jazz, the sheet music is just a suggestion. It's a starting point. The real magic happens in the moment. It's a conversation between the musicians, live and spontaneous, which means every single performance is one of a kind. And then there's the other non-negotiable: swing. Man, this one is tough to put into words. It's that infectious groove, that rhythmic pulse that just pulls you forward. You know, Louis Armstrong famously said, "If you don't feel it, you'll never know it." And he was right. It's the rhythm that makes you want to tap your foot, snap your fingers. It's the lifeblood of the music. So, we've got improvisation, we've got swing, but where did this all come from? To answer that, we have to travel back in time to late 19th century New Orleans. You gotta picture this place. It was a bustling port city, a true cultural pressure cooker, where sounds and traditions from all over the world were crashing into each other, creating something totally new. Yeah, this wasn't just one person's invention. Think of it more like the ultimate musical recipe. You take the raw, deep emotion of the blues and spirituals, you add the bouncy, offbeat rhythms of ragtime, you stir in powerful rhythmic traditions from West Africa, and you mix it all up using the instruments and harmonies of Europe. All the pieces were there, ready for something big to happen.
But wait, there was one more crucial ingredient, a secret spice, if you will. The great pianist Jelly Roll Morton called it the Spanish tinge, an Afro-Cuban rhythm known as the habanera. That little bit of seasoning gave early jazz this unique rhythmic flavor that you just didn't hear anywhere else. It was absolutely essential.
And from that incredible New Orleans melting pot, jazz didn't just grow, it absolutely exploded. So buckle up, let's take a quick whirlwind tour through the decades and see how this local sound completely took over the nation. So first, you hit the roaring 20s. I mean, they called it the jazz age for a reason. This is when jazz went mainstream. Then we cruise into the 30s and the swing era. Think huge bands, packed dance floors. This was the pop music of its day. But by the 40s, a rebellion started brewing. They called it bebop. Way faster, way more complex. And after all that fire, the 50s kind of cooled things down with, well, cool jazz and the more thoughtful modal jazz.
And this right here? This might be the single biggest shift in jazz history. Swing was popular music. It was for the people, for dancing. But bebop? Bebop was a rebellion. It was music for musicians. Guys like Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie were tired of simple dance tunes. They created something that was meant to be listened to, analyzed. Jazz was officially moving from the dance floor to the concert hall.
Then came another total game changer. 1959, Miles Davis drops the album Kind of Blue. He introduced this new idea called modal jazz. Basically, instead of navigating a complicated maze of chords, he told his musicians to just explore scales, or modes. It gave them so much more freedom. And the result? Oh, just the best-selling jazz album of all time.
But you know by now, jazz never ever stands still. So as we get into the 60s and 70s, the musicians didn't just bend the rules anymore. They decided to shatter them completely. They started to question what music could even be. And things kind of split into two wild new directions. On one path, you had free jazz. Visionaries like Ornette Coleman just threw the rulebook out the window. No steady beat, no set structure, just raw, pure emotion. And then, on the other path, you get jazz fusion. And guess who was leading the charge again? Miles Davis. He plugged in, grabbed electric instruments, and fused the improvisation of jazz with the sheer power and rhythm of rock music. So after all of that rule-breaking, all that genre-bending, where did it all lead? Well, it led us right here, to today, a time when jazz isn't just one sound anymore. It's become a truly global language for creative expression.
I mean, just look at the sheer variety we have now. You've got Latin jazz, which takes that old Spanish tinge and runs with it. Jazz fusion is still evolving, blending with funk and electronic music. You have smooth jazz, acid jazz for the clubs, and even jazz rap. Think about groups like A Tribe Called Quest, building masterpieces by sampling old jazz records. It just proves how incredibly adaptable this music really is.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it? A sound that was born over a century ago on the streets of New Orleans has now literally traveled the world, and everywhere it goes, it soaks up new ideas, new influences. It has truly become a universal language for people to create and express themselves.
And that really brings us full circle. The story of jazz has never been about looking backwards. It has always been about pushing forward, about asking that simple question, what's next? So, that's the question I want to leave you with. After this incredible journey of constant reinvention, what do you think the next evolution of jazz is going to sound like?